Council will come to the dais, please.
Hey, how are you?
Pretty good. Oh, we got two. Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of North Miami Beach's City Council meeting of Tuesday, March 3rd, 2015. Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilman De Filippo.
Present.
Councilwoman Kramer. Here. Vice Mayor Martell.
Present.
Councilman Pierre.
Present.
Councilwoman Smith.
Present.
Councilwoman Spiegel.
I'm here.
Mayor Valle.
I am here.
We have quorum.
Thank you very much. And now if everyone would please rise for a moment for our invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Our invocation this evening will be given by our good friend Pastor Nathan Adams of Fulford United Methodist Church.
All righty, thank
Welcome,
you.
Pastor.
Thank you. Let us pray.
Yeah.
Beloved one, we thank you for the opportunity to gather tonight to talk about, to dream about, and to plan for our beloved city of North Miami Beach. May the conversations, recognitions, and decisions we make here tonight help each of us as well as our city to move forward together. We so often focus on ourselves, our families, our businesses, our own neighborhoods. It is indeed easier to think of ourselves first rather than others. It is easy to become focused on our own needs and desires and to discount the opinions, hopes, and priorities of others. Help us, though, to move beyond the easy to the good and the right. Help us to do the hard work of valuing all people gathered here tonight and those we represent. Help us to do the hard work of opening our minds and hearts to hear one another with the spirit of generosity and tolerance. Help us to do the hard work of learning from one another and trusting one another as we do so. We strive together in this difficult work because we recognize that what impacts one of us impacts all of us. This is good news, for what positively impacts one of us will then positively impact all of us. So again, help us this evening to have a spirit of cooperation and hospitality towards one another. Help us to plan together, dream together, and to celebrate together. Thank you for this opportunity to meet and to serve one another. We offer this invocation with humility, knowing that individually none of us has the answers for how to move forward, but together, as a unified city and voice, we can do much. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Pastor Adams. Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have any requests for changes to tonight's agenda?
Mr. Mayor, we will be removing from the consent agenda to be brought back at the next meeting our regular council meeting minutes of February 3rd and February 17th. And there's an addition of a presentation by Councilwoman Smith of business recognition.
Okay, so we'll put that down as 5.3. And I'd like to, if there's no objection, what I'd like to do is go out of order with the discussion item that we have 14.1 about Mall Lake. I'd like to just take that, since we have a lot of packed house here of neighbors, to take it after we do public comment. So.
Good.
Oh, no, that's, yeah, it's after. Okay, so now we have three presentations, so let me start with turning the floor over to Councilwoman Beth Spiegel for some well-deserved recognition of some sponsors.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Love your haircut. Thank you.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Icon.
Why is?
This one, I feel it.
What's going on? Thank you. To those of you who came out and walked with us on Saturday, thank you for supporting us. To those of you who didn't, remember we're going to do this next year. Please remember that heart disease kills more women than any other diseases in this country. And for those of you who were there, I thanked all of our sponsors, and I thanked a ton of our city staff who were amazing, but I left out two people that I really need to acknowledge tonight. One is Greg Williams, who I think could probably put together any project, any program in the city and succeed at it immeasurably. And the other is Jackie Shakespeare, who was the backbone, who held it all together, got everybody where they needed to be, ordered what needed to be done, and so I wanted to thank them. Again, I want to thank my council. I want to thank the manager, our Parks and Rec director, who got behind us doing it, and Brian O'Connor, who goes above and beyond, soaked to the skin with a smile and kept moving. But we couldn't have done this without our donors. And the people I'm going to recognize tonight were just amazing. They stepped up to the plate. Some of these people, I asked them once, and before I was even done asking, they said yes. The bronze donors, I want to recognize RMA. We have two of the representatives here. Bills and Sundberg. We have Bills and Sundberg and Mr. Stanley Price. Thank you. Halazar, Pettis, and Schwam. I doubt that we have anybody here from them, but thank you. And Jackson North Medical Center. Our silver sponsors, I'm told that no one is here from Garland Company, but if you're here, please stand up. I'd love to recognize you. ADR Partners was a silver sponsor. Ron Book was a silver sponsor. In an absolute amazing act of city pride and grace, our city attorney, Jose Smith, was a silver sponsor. Thank you. And I don't see anybody from Marina Palms. Or is anyone here tonight? No, they were a silver sponsor. Thank you. And our bronze sponsors, ASA College. Mr. Richardson, are you here? Oh, yes, come on down. You know what? I'm really sorry. I'm going to come over here. You're getting a picture. Okay. You know, this is a project for our city that we're really proud of. We've done it 2 years in a row. Council, I think, is committed to continuing to do this. It is to get people out, get them moving, get them healthy, but it's also to get people to recognize and enjoy our Snake Creek Canal. And so I cannot tell you how much the city appreciates the sponsorship. Oh, wait, I grabbed.
They want.
No, it's just the shirts for it. It's just the shirts for those for that level.
No. ASA College. Oh. They're not in any order in there. Cannot tell you how much we appreciate ASA College and your gold sponsorship and the fact that you stepped up and became part of our city and our city's activity. And we thank you. We look forward to you, your students, coming out and participating again next year. So thank you very much. Thank you. Not at all, huh? Okay. Thank you. Okay, our next gold sponsor was Deezer Development.
Speech.
Mr. Richardson, thank you. Next year I'll come to you personally. I have to tell you that I met Mr. Chesnick, asked him if they wanted to become a sponsor, get involved, and it took you, what, about 15 seconds to say yes? And on behalf of the city council, all of the people who participated, we thank you so much for becoming part of our city, getting involved with us. Next year, we expect to see you out there, maybe your wife, your kids. But thank you very, very much for being part of our second annual Heart Health Walk. Alan Mackin, I saw you back there somewhere. Come on down. And Chip Falkinger. I got to tell you folks, last year when this was a germ of an idea, we reached out to Mr. Mackin and Chip and said, would you like to become our first gold sponsor? And you didn't hesitate. And the best part about Alan is he's a North Miami Beach resident from way back. And he's been part of this city, and we cannot tell you how much we appreciate Mackin Companies, LLC, stepping up, becoming, well, that's, what are you laughing at? Okay. Becoming a gold sponsor. We appreciate it. We appreciate the interest in the city, and we expect to see you guys out there walking. You did it last year. I didn't see you this year. The rain. But thank you for being a gold sponsor. My pleasure. You want to say anything? Say it publicly.
It's just a pleasure to support the city. I grew up in this city, so it's a pleasure for me to work with it. I believe strongly in the city council and everything you guys are trying to accomplish. Having been here for a long time, I know what the tasks you guys are trying to accomplish, and the city manager and the changes that have happened. There's been a lot of bravery for all of you to do what you're doing. I know what's gone on before and where we are now, and I think the city's moving in the right direction. And to all of you, I give you a lot of support, and it's a pleasure to do it. Somebody owns a fair amount of property in this town. It's an honor for me to do it, having grown up in this town. It's a pleasure to see the direction we're going in, and you can always count on me to support these types of projects. And to all of you, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Okay. I was remiss. No one told me what was in the box. So, Mr. Smith, come on over here. This was amazing. I have to tell you, I went to Mr. Smith and I said, you know, can you help us raise some money for the Heart Health Walk? You deal with some of the attorneys who have contracts with us and whatever. Not only did he help try and raise money, but he put his money where his mouth is. He put money in. And on behalf of the entire City Council, we thank you so much for your participation. And while I have the mic, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I want to thank my entire City Council. You all came out, you all got wet, but you've been totally supportive of this idea from the first time that I brought it to Council, when I put it into the budget, and, you know, it's great, and it's a great project for our city, so thank you all. Yay. Thank you.
And Councilwoman Spiegel, you know, I know you don't want us to you want to take all that credit, but, you know, quite honestly, this event would not be here if it wasn't for your brainchild and for your spearheading it and for your persistence and constant reminders about the event. So we thank you. This is an outstanding event for the city, and we thank you for doing everything you've done to actually make sure that it went off on time, on schedule, and we held off the rain for just enough, too, for the lead pack.
Speak for yourself. The rest of us got soaked.
Okay, let me go ahead and jump to City Manager. Ms. Garcia, you have an award?
Yeah, let me borrow. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, City staff, and special guests that are with us here tonight. When I came to the city, I set up a motto called RISE, and it stands for Respect, Integrity, Service, and Excellence. And last year, we gave out several key awards, and this year, we wanted to start with one presentation tonight, and you'll see in the upcoming meetings some other key presentations based on what the department directors have nominated from all different levels of city employees. For Mac and I and Richard, we had a responsibility, and that was to identify a key individual in our senior staff that represented RISE in a really, truly amazing way. But so many of our employees, so many of our senior directors already do that, so it was a very, very difficult decision. So then I started to see other qualities, the relationships that this individual had, not just with our city, but with other cities that were extremely beneficial to us. A couple of the discussions that I had with this individual, hey, do you think we're getting enough money from FDOT to take care of our medians? You know, and a month later, you know, there's FDOT with an additional $7,000 to take care of medians. Hey, wouldn't it be great if this median on 163rd Street that we take care of, but it's North Miami's jurisdiction, wouldn't it be great if we were able to have a memorandum of understanding and be able to do what we wanted to do on that median on 163rd Street and beautify it, since we're already putting money into that median, so we can have control. And all of a sudden, you know, because of that relationship that this individual has with the city of North Miami, we got a unanimous 5-0 vote on that MOU, and then we did the same thing. And I can go on and on and on, but more than anything, for a manager or supervisor or director, when you're able to meet with somebody and you're interested in their growth and you're able to give them critique or you're able to help them grow and they're so open, it makes our lives so much easier. And today's a very difficult time for this individual because he lost his grandmother today, somebody that's very, very close to him. And I said, look, if you want, we'll leave this and we'll do it 2 weeks from now. But he said to me, my grandmother will be so proud that on the day that she passed and went to heaven, I am actually being recognized. So I would ask you to please join me in recognizing the outstanding Department Director of the Year, Mr. Esmond Scott, our Director of Public Works. And I have the award here for him, which is a flame, and we started it last year with RISE, and basically what it says is Manager Special Recognition Award. It's our time, because I really think it truly is our time here in the city of North Miami Beach, and it's presented to Esmond Scott in appreciation of your commitment and dedicated service to the city of North Miami Beach, presented this March 3rd, 2015. And we thank you so much. Would you like to grace us with some words?
How much time do I have? All good evening. First of all, I want to thank Mayor and Council for selecting an awesome city manager. I would just go ahead and speak about me receiving this award, but I just really and truly want to tell you that he has chosen an individual who is a great cheerleader for us, who pushes us a lot and allows us to get things done. Her belief in us is what motivates us to do the things that we do. You made a wise choice, and we thank you for that. Manager, thank you. There isn't enough for me to say. And to the residents of North Miami Beach, I also say thank you. To my colleagues, thank you so much for the support and everything that you do every day just to keep me motivated. To my staff, I know I run you ragged. I know I do. I know our motto is rip and run. And I know all that I do for you. I promise you so much that in as much as we work hard, we will also play hard, but I'll find the time to do that. I'll just say also to the Vans, the Fernandos, he's hobnobbing in Frankfurt, I think, right now. Yeah. And to every single person on the Public Works staff, I thank them because they're a part of this. And our goal for the next, for this year coming up is to make sure that every element of RISE goes down to the bottom of Public Works, because they're great elements. Respect, integrity, service, and excellence. It's just great. I want to thank my wife and my daughter for being here.
All right.
Bring them up.
My wife is not as shy as I am.
Shy.
And my daughter came in because she's running the New York Marathon, the New York City Half a Marathon, fourth time, and it's really, really hard to train on ice. So she came in to do her runs here. But thank you so very much, everybody, and I'm truly grateful for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Wesley. I just want to say why I still have you here, Esmond. Your attitude, your sense of humor, and your humility and your willingness is just totally, totally priceless to us and the rest of the team. So thank you. This is for everybody.
Thank you, Madam Manager, for recognizing Director Scott. Director Scott, first of all, on behalf of every single resident of this city, our condolences to you and your family on the loss of your grandmother. And also, congratulations on this award, well-deserved. I think every single resident notices and sees the difference out on the streets that your team is putting together, and that is exactly what everybody supports and what everybody wants to see and what everyone in this community deserves. Thank you very much, okay? Thank you. Okay. Okay. Next, let me go ahead and introduce Councilwoman Smith for, okay, Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, please, we're conducting our meeting. If you need to have a conversation, please step outside. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see some of my board here. If you'd like to come up with me, our development board, our board in North Miami Beach, decided last year at the end of the year that every month we're going to recognize small businesses that are the backbone of any city. So if I could please have Rochelle come up with her husband, and if I could please have Adriana and Bruno and their daughter come up. It's very exciting to me to recognize this business because I have passed it for years, never was in the store, but we're recognizing tonight hats and hats. And it's our honor to have you in the city as long as you've been here, which is almost 20 years. And I also brought up Rochelle because her parents built the building almost 60 years ago. Mr. and Mrs. Uran built that building, and when they passed away, their daughter and her family, her husband, kept the building in the family's name, and they maintain it. Well, one of their tenants is Hats and Hats, and her husband, learning about it to give you this honor, has a company out of the country that he manufactures hats second generation and bring them to United States, bring them to North Miami Beach and sell them. And we are honored and we are proud. So with that, I would like to tell you that today, from our redevelopment committee, we are honoring you and your company. And with that recognition, it's the Hats and Hats located at 1836 Northeast 163rd Street. Recognizing you as a leading member of the business community in the city of North Miami Beach and presenting this to you on the 3rd day of March. We'd love to hear a little bit more about your business.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to the city. I feel really humble because this is my business, our business, and this is what we love to do. So this is an honor. Thank you to the city. Thank you to the police department that has been always there for us, for the alarms and everything. We feel the support. And also I want to thank you, Rochelle, and your mom. She gave us the opportunity and rent us the business. So it's a pleasure to work here. And our business is retail and wholesale of hats. We've been in business for almost 20 years. My husband more, because it's 2 generations. And yeah, we're pleased to have the business.
Well, we're thrilled, and please give them the address one more time.
1836 Northeast 163rd Street.
Now come over and let's take a couple.
Thank you. Thank you. See you there, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you
guys.
You did for the Mother's Day breakfast.
Yes. That was years ago. Yes, thank you.
And you've given back to the community, you've given back to the city, but I will tell you, small business is the backbone of the city, but small business is the people, and these are the people. And thank you, all of you. This is yours. Enjoy. Pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Congratulations. Okay, Madam Clerk, let's go ahead and open the floor for public comment for anyone who wishes to address the council.
The mayor and council of the city of North Miami Beach have opened a meeting for public comment at this time. There's a 3-minute time limit for each speaker during public comment or for the testimony during public hearings. Speakers will be called to the podium. Please state your name and address and/or the name and address of the organization in which you are representing. During public hearing items, please speak only on the subject matter that is before council. The mayor and council of the city of North Miami Beach recognize the importance of civility. The city of North Miami Beach requests all in attendance to exercise civility towards each other. Our first speaker is Mr. Chuck Asarno.
From our organization. Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council.
Name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, I'm Chuck Asarno. I live at 16449 Northeast 31st Avenue, and I am speaking tonight as President of the Eastern Shores Property Owners Association, and have asked those members of our Board of Directors in attendance to join me at the podium. At the October 16, 2014 meeting of the Board of Directors of ASPOA, the subject of protecting the environment, specifically Mall Lake, was introduced for discussion by a member of our board. It was pointed out during the discussion that the City of Aventura had already protected that portion of Mall Lake, which sits within their boundaries, by enacting legislation declaring their section of the lake a conservation district. It allows passive outdoor recreation uses, but prohibits activities which impair the natural environment or disturb the area's ecosystem. No building or structure is allowed in the conservation district. It was proposed that ASPOA contact our mayor and council and request that the City of North Miami Beach take similar action to declare the portion of Mall Lake falling within the boundaries of North Miami Beach to be a conservation district, with the same stipulations as contained in the Aventura Ordinance. The proposal was voted upon and passed unanimously. On October 21, 2014, an email was sent to the mayor, all council members, the city manager, city attorney, and other appropriate staff, requesting action as I have described. We understand that the matter will be discussed this evening and would like to reiterate that we believe such action by the city is consistent with the goals of the city's comprehensive plan and would be supported by most residents and various environmental organizations such as Friends of the Oleta River, who are concerned with protecting the environment. We sincerely hope the council will move forward to making this proposal a reality. Thank you.
Thank you.
Claudia Gallegos, then Gloria Ware.
Good evening.
Hold the mic, yeah.
Good evening. I am Claudia Gallegos. I live at 16558 Northeast 26th Avenue. That is the Reef Club. We are on the on the west side of the of Mall Lake. Our condominium is taking a straw vote to find out what is the position of most of the neighbors. However, there's a big concern about the development of the lake, mostly because once the zoning is changed, we can suddenly have a change in this in the amount of houses or buildings that could be built in that area, and we will have, instead of the proposed 29 houses, we can have who knows how many apartment buildings and so on, which is the menace that we received from the developer in question. So we ask you to, we join many of the neighbors in our development, the Reef Club. We join the same feeling as Eastern Shores, and we hope you can consider that petition from all the neighbors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Gallegos.
Gloria Ware, Mark Antone,
Mark Antonio.
and on there, and then Sunny Sawyer.
Swaya.
Good evening. My name's Mark Antonio. I live at 2811 Northeast 164th Street in North Miami Beach. Good evening, and thank you all for your consideration of this item. I started, after hearing about some development potentials on Mall Lake, I started to do my own little research, and I found out that Aventura had already created this conservation area. And I looked at North Miami Beach and had seen that although the comprehensive plan spoke to this area being a conservation for recreational purposes, I didn't see any zoning on the land. And at the same time, with this proposal and the publicity we had seen in the newspaper of floating homes, I started a Facebook page called SaveMallLake.com, and I just put all this information out there. And in a short period of time, I have over 100 people liking the page from literally not only the neighbors, but people as far away as from Milan, Italy, and other parts of the world that either live here or have vacationed here and would like to see the lake conserved. So I applaud you for taking this action now. Although Aventura did it many, many years ago, I think it's appropriate that we finally put this thing to rest and ensure the people that both live in the community and the people that visit our community that we're one for conservation. I mean, in that lake alone, we have tarpon, we have manatee, we have all the juvenile fish that end up being spawned in the mangroves and come out to Mall Lake to grow up, so to speak. So it really is a wonderful area for just enjoying nature. And in the future, as this commission, or this council moves forward with the development along Mall Lake on the Biscayne Boulevard corridor, what nicer than to have a nice lake preserved for people to walk along the promenade, as you would say, and just view and enjoy the lake in its natural state. So I thank you for your time and your consideration of this matter, and I thank also the people that came out from the Western Eastern Shores area in support of this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Antonio.
Sunny Swaya, 16570 Northeast 35th Avenue. I just wanted to say something. I think the floating homes will be interesting and unique, maybe even pretty, and I'm not so sure if they would be good or bad for real estate prices. I'm a little young to know about those things, but I'm not too young to know about destruction of our waterways and putting our manatees and other marine life at danger. That is their home. I have done many projects in my years learning about mangroves, Alita Park and other waterways, and how to preserve the little marine life such as manatees we have left. So, I hope you can make Mall Lake a protected place. I love paddleboarding and sitting on the lake for the 4th of July and hope my future family has the same chance to do so. I mean, what's next? Building homes in the trees in Alita Park? Let's face it, not every part of nature needs to be developed. Save some for the future kids to enjoy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Swaya. Undoubtedly, that's the best public comment that I've heard in all the since I've been elected up here. So,
You know what?
board application forthcoming.
No, actually, she sounds like the next mayor of North Miami Beach.
There you go.
Aurora Asia H. Shaquana Gulf.
She left.
Sheldon Phillips. Fabian Simon.
Done.
Evans Sullivan.
Done.
Erica Stuckey.
Done.
Alberta. Give your name and address for the record.
To our mayor and the staff. To our mayor and the staff. As some of you already know me, I'm Reverend Alberta Williams from Washington Park. My address is 1500 Northeast 152 Terrace. Well, one thing I really came to ask a question, and I guess after I've asked this question, I can tell you my purpose for really coming. On last week, I had the pleasure of meeting with the Crime Watch. And as I sit in this meeting, it was wonderful. And I really enjoyed it. And as they began to explain and tell us what they was doing with this gun, and they began, but the thing that kind of bothered me, he was from Oak Grove, which is on 6th Avenue, as we all know, and they come to 13th Avenue. So I live at Washington Park. I'm on 15th Avenue. So I was wondering, the service they giving there, we need some of that service from, I would say, they at 13. I would love to see it come from 13th Place to 16th Avenue and get the peoples in Washington Park and my neighbors, get them interested in coming to these Crime Watch. And if you all could find space, find the time to think about this, and I think it would be great for our community. And our councilman, and we know some of them personally because I worked with some of them down through the years. But however, I would appreciate that if we would consider that and let the Crime Watch come from 13th Place. They goes to 13th Avenue. What would give us a lap over to 16th Avenue? And that would include Washington Park. And it would be a great access for our community. And I'd appreciate that to the entire staff of North Miami Beach. I've been a resident here for 43 years. And I love this city. And I have truthfully can say it's been good to me. I've never had any trouble. But I don't feel exempted. I'm just grateful that I haven't had the robbing and the breaking in. And I'm glad about that. And I think if we get a little, it doesn't I don't care. I think they say they meet every 3 months or every 3 weeks or 6 weeks. But however, whatever it is, every once in a while, if we could have one. And I'll promise you this, and I'm finished. I'll do my best to get the community together. Thank you all, and bless you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Madam Manager, could you make sure that get somebody from staff to talk to Ms. Williams about seeing about how they can help?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was just.
I see the chief is waving back there.
Chief is waiting for you.
Yep.
No, actually,
Okay.
the chief is shaking his head yes, so thank you for coming. I think you've got
Thank you.
what the community needs. Thank you.
Gloria Ware.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Name and
Councilmen and women.
Name and address for the record, please.
Managers, Mayor. My name is Gloria Ware, and I haven't been to a meeting in. My residence is 1425 Northeast 153 Terrace, and that's my parents' residence, where they work hard for. And I love the community of Washington Park, and it's upsetting to me that I was raised in Washington Park. My daughter was raised in Washington Park, but I was also assisting my mother. Well, she made me at the time because I didn't know any better because I was a young girl. Well, she was on the Voters Council, and we sent out flyers from 163rd Street Mall. We had to pass them out house by house from Washington Park all the way to West Dixie Highway. When anybody needed to get elected and when anybody was going to be appointed, they made us a part of. And that's what the community that I grew up in. So I want to bring that back to Washington Park because I came back to the community and I'm not liking what I see. I mean, our community is falling down. And I feel like that our pool need to be reconstructed, that park need to be reconstructed. Everything needs to be updated, and I don't think it's fair that we're getting overlapped over in that community, the community that I grew up in, which I grew up in the community where we had Mr. Glenn there, and we utilized the pool. So I'm just asking everybody to please put that in consideration, that Washington Park is a part of North Miami Beach, and we'd like some things to happen, and I will make sure that I will be coming to these meetings from now on in to be a part of, because I feel like that what my mom put in us, I'm sorry, I really don't need a mic, but what my mom put into my heart, that you have to be there for your community, because it takes a community to raise a child, and there's children there, and they need to a nice foundation there, and that's what we're trying to build back there in our community. We need our Heritage Day program back in Washington Park, because I see that is being looked over. We would like Heritage Day back into the park, and I will do all I can. If I have to go back to old school with Miss Hazel Crawford and my mother Ardelia White Nelson and pass out flyers from 163rd to West Dixie, I will do that. So thank you very much. Y'all have a pleasant evening.
Wait, don't leave.
Thank you, Mrs. Ware. If I would say,
Can I share something that I got from FERDAP today?
no. We'll do that in a second. Here's what I was going to say, Mrs. Ware. Thank you. You've brought some excellent comments. I would like, if you would take a second, meet with somebody from our staff, because there's some. We want to get some of those down, and also there's some exciting things that are being worked on at staff that I would like for them to pass along to you. Okay.
Yeah, don't leave.
Thanks.
Stay for the manager's
Okay.
report.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Darrell Thompson. Okay. That was the last speaker, Mr. Mayor.
No, there's.
Okay. Thank you very much.
One
Okay.
minute.
Oh, you got one more? Okay.
Just give your name and address for the record.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
My name is Juanita Breedlove.
Your address, please. An address, please.
And I live at my residence, I live in Broward County, but I'm in North Miami Beach every day.
Give your residence.
Okay, 8430 North Sherman Park,
Thank you.
Miramar, Florida.
Okay.
I grew up in Washington Park. I was born there from 1956. And my concern is, I'm not going to say the City Hall, it's like y'all overlooking Washington Park. You know, it's come down from generation to generation. from time that I was born, the time I was on the swimming team, till I went to Forford, to all the schools in North Miami Beach. My problem is today that Washington Park, the community is like, we feel like y'all overlooking us. You really, truly overlooking Washington Park. The young kids, they cannot enjoy Washington Park. You understand what I'm saying, Mayor? They don't have that luxury like anywhere else in North Miami Beach. And I feel like y'all could do more than what y'all doing for the kids' sake. It's about the young generation. And so many things are y'all close, you closing down the pool.
Ms. Breedlove, can I just stop you one quick second? Madam Manager, can we have somebody tell the folks to either go back by HR or something, because there's too much noise, they're interrupting the speaker.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms. Breedlove, I'm sorry.
Okay, from the pool, Black Heritage Day, like Ms. Jackie said. And I feel like y'all appreciate and I hope that y'all can do a little more for the young kids. Let them enjoy Washington Park, and stuff like that, because they deserve it. We deserved it when we was growing up. We was on the swimming team without no heater. The pool didn't have a heater. We all stayed on the swimming team till I was 15 years old with Mr. Glenn, Mr. Jerry, and so many other ones. So just take in consideration, it's about the kids. It's not about me. It's not about my kids because they grown, but it's about the youth, the young kids. And Heritage Day also, so I appreciate if y'all don't mind, give us that luxury that any place else in North Miami Beach have. So that way they can enjoy it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Breedlove. If you would also, I'd like to have staff give you an update on some of the things that are in the works right now, okay? Thank you.
That was the last speaker, Mr. Mayor.
Councilwoman Smith?
I'd like to suggest, I see some members of the Voters Council here. I see some of the youth here. I see some of the elderly people from Washington Park. I'd like to suggest that the managers sit down, not just the pool, but what other programs do they have in mind? Because it's all well and good what we have in mind and what you have that you're getting and what's on the paper, but maybe they have a different idea, a different direction. I'd like for us to get a meeting. I see Gail Johnson here. Maybe she can arrange that, and we'll get together with everybody and see what they feel is really missing that may not be on our view of what's going forth. I'd appreciate that.
You mean like the parks master plan workshops that we did?
Well, you know what?
We can do another one, right?
It doesn't sound like
Okay.
it's a parks master plan workshop. It sounds like it's
Other-
a community feeling. And I'd like us to take that community feeling and bring it back to our city, to where are we missing something, and let's bring it forth.
Sounds good. Thank you, Councilwoman Smith. Okay, public comment is closed, and like I said before, I want to go out of order since it's a relatively quick item because it's just a discussion item. I'd like to move up item 14.1, which is a discussion item about Mall Lake, and the reason that I brought this item for discussion is, since we have this is an item that has kind of surfaced. It's surfaced actually for a while, and it's there's been a lot of news reports. There's been a lot of rumors about the potential for building homes on Mall Lake, floating homes, and it's causing a lot of apprehension for a lot of people in the community. And we also find out that, of course, as one of the speakers had mentioned, that our section of Mall Lake apparently has no zoning applied to it, which is really surprising, but that's apparently the situation. And since, of course, we kind of all have an agreement that we don't bring items forward without direction by the council, what I would like to do is I wanted to bring it for discussion and for us to be able to direct our city attorney, our city staff, to basically look at this issue, find out, get all the facts to us, the why, the what, the where, the when, how this happened, that this property doesn't have any kind of zoning on it, and basically come back to us at a future date for a workshop with, the research and recommendations from staff of what is the right thing to do here and how we can do it, whatever needs to be done to protect Mole Lake and basically give us the story on this and give us our options to be able to act. So that's what I wanted to bring. So I'm looking for us to just give direction for staff to research it and bring it back to us with some kind of concrete proposals. Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you. When I received the email from the Eastern Shores Property Owners Association, I forwarded that to the city attorney and asked if we could do that. So I'm hopeful that the research is pretty much done at this point.
One of the issues that you and I discussed was as part of changing the charter, amending the charter, perhaps putting a provision in the charter governing what can and cannot be done at Mole Lake. There are other ideas that I've been discussing with Mr. Lorber, who I've worked with over the years, and we have other options for you to consider as part of a comprehensive rezoning of the whole city. One of the options is to do pretty much what Aventura did, which is zoned marine recreation and allowing only certain limited uses relating to boating and fishing and things of that nature, sailing. But there are obviously more than one option, and we'll bring you all of the ideas that we can come up with, and then you'll make a decision.
I have a floor. Having just finished the walk along the Snake Creek Canal, and we have other water in the city. If we're going to create special districts or zoning, can we take a look at create other conservation areas also?
Sure.
And I did, when I saw this item, I pulled the Aventura Charter and looked at if we can just do something like what Aventura did, their charter under their zoning code is pretty straightforward and would seem to cover the preservation of waterfront areas within the city.
I'm not sure, perhaps Mr. Lorber can weigh in, but I'm not sure that Aventura has it in its charter. They have it in their zoning code.
Right.
I
said I pulled their zoning code today and looked at the code provision.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, you can go right online, anybody wants.
I saw it today too.
Right.
Anyone else?
I just want to chime in real quick and say I saw the same thing Councilwoman Spiegel saw, and I agree with what you brought forth, Mayor, in giving direction to our city attorney and city manager to move forward and see what best recommendation they can make to us.
Okay, and I wanted to come as a discussion item just because I know that this is potentially a complicated issue, and I wanted to make sure that everyone was equally briefed, because I know I've had a lot of conversations with the attorney, but I'm not sure if everybody got to the same level, so I thought it would be best that we did it this way to make sure that they can bring us all of the options, pros, cons, and the whole everything that we need to know for us to make an informed decision. Yes, Councilwoman.
Well, I would like to ask Mr. Lorber and the attorney, because I think the time frame on this is really important. We have, and I've had a lot of the residents come to me, and we sit up here for the best things for the residents. So far, nothing else has been brought before us formally as any kind of project. I'd like to nip it in the bud if we're going to do it, and let's get it on the table, get it taken care of before there's a big issue that could hold us even liable. So I just would like very much to get that done.
Sounds like we have It sounds like we have general agreement to let's get the ball rolling. So
sure.
Well, I have a question. Since we're going to look at the North Miami Beach zoning mixed-use districts, and 4 or 5 of those mixed-use districts are in waterfront areas, is there any way that we can incorporate it into this book of zoning amendments and text amendments and
Between first and second reading?
You can't. We've had the advertising with the maps of the specific areas. So at this time, we'd really have to go back to the very beginning to add another location.
Mr. Lober, how about we look at it from a different angle? This is kind of a, for the most part, this is an issue that is really kind of isolated at Mall Lake because there is no zoning currently applied to it, right?
Right.
I mean, obviously, this will come back and we will take action on this.
Yeah.
But if when you research it, if there is something else that isn't properly covered, I would say that's something that obviously we would want to see and bring it up and deal with it at the same time. Because this is going to require ordinances, 2 readings, I'm sure, and
Right.
maybe, I'm not sure what else is involved, but when you bring it back to us, just walk us through, but at the same time, if you find something else that there's a gap here, there's something that got dropped and missed throughout the years, then let's deal with it at the same time. Fair enough?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I'm also in agreement with going ahead and making sure that we get all the information that we need. I understand. I believe that the issue is like the Snake Creek Canal is the C Canal, which is under the South Florida Water Management District, and the Mall Lake seems to be privately owned. Am I correct on this?
I believe
wanna know.
that Mall Lake is privately owned. I'm not sure about the ownership of the different canals within the city.
So it would be
Right.
Councilwoman,
Well,
this is...
that's what I'm saying. Like, in this case, I'd like to go ahead and make sure that we get all the information because it seems that this seems to be a little bit of a different situation than what Councilwoman Spiegel mentioned because of the canal, because the canals are owned by the South Florida Water Management District,
Right.
while this section here requires a little bit of us getting the information. That's
Right.
all I'm saying.
Yeah, okay, no problem. I think we're covered, the instructions, you guys know where we want to go, bring it back to us, and, with what we need to do, and let's get it done, okay? Yeah, let's look at it this way, though. We have potentially, you guys are going to have your hands full for the next 2 weeks, I'm sure, in case potentially any changes, but if you can bring it for the 17th, great. If not, then is it reasonable that this can be done for first or at worst second meeting of April?
We can certainly do it. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that under current law, you can't build in Mall Lake because it is a submerged, you're talking about submerged lands underwater, and therefore under our code, nobody would be able to build there. So, people should not be alarmed that there's going to be a building built there, or 25 homes or 15 homes. It's not going to happen anytime.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Smith. I think the big concern, though, is that, we had that discussion. I think some people know that. I'm glad that you put it on the record and letting everybody know. I think one of the things that people are concerned about is that if it's not adequately covered, the current code could be changed at any time.
It's just
right.
an added measure of protection.
Exactly.
Another layer of
I think that's what we're looking for. So rather than kind of go through the details, because I'm not sure that everybody's knows exactly what it is. I think it would be best if you kind of bring it back. We could do pre-council and then bring it up later in the day or on a. The point is, let's brief everybody with all the information and then take the action.
We can certainly do that in
Okay.
April.
All right, great. Thank you.
Can I
Last
just go on
comment?
the record? It's not just an added layer of protection. There are some of us in the community that are dedicated to water conservation, natural resource conservation, and it should be a philosophical position of the city to conserve our waterfronts and our water areas.
Exactly. No, exactly. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, you guys got the marching orders?
We
Great.
got it.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone that came out. Okay, let's go ahead and move our consent agenda, which is minus item 8.1 and minus item 8.2. It's going to be item 8.3 and 8.4.
Move to introduce to approve the consent agenda items 8.3 and 8.4.
Second.
Okay, on the consent agenda, item 8.3, 8.4, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Mr. Attorney?
8.3 is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami Beach, Florida, authorizing the City Manager and the City Clerk to execute a voluntary cooperation and operational assistance mutual aid agreement with the City of Miami Beach, Florida, for the purpose of coordinating law enforcement, planning, operations, and mutual aid benefit between the City of North Miami Beach and the City of Miami Beach, Florida. Resolution number R 2015-22 is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami Beach, Florida, accepting a right of entry and license from Miami-Dade County, Florida, to install and maintain fixed network collector antennas and equipment at Miami-Dade County wastewater pump stations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Attorney. Ms. Garcia, your report, please.
Yes, I'm going to take some of these things out of order so we can address some of the things that were discussed today, particularly about Washington Park. But I wanted to thank the mayor and council and remind everybody that this fiscal year, dollars were put into the budget to make sure that we did a citywide parks master plan. And we embarked on the citywide parks master plan this fall in October. We've had a multitude of meetings, and I want everybody to know that you could go to your local park, go to Washington Park or Highland Village or Allen Park. You can go to any of these parks and pick up a survey. We want to hear what you would like to see, not just in Washington Park, but in a park in Eastern Shores, in any park in any area of our city. So come to any of our park, come up to my office. The mayor and council have these surveys that I gave to them. So, for the record, your voice and what you want to see in all our parks is of extreme importance to us. We were also very aggressive last year in Tallahassee and very successful, and we are on our way this year to another successful year in Tallahassee for our legislative request. I just heard today that our FERDAP request, which is improvements and enhancements to the Washington Park Pool and Aquatic Center, has been ranked number 21 out of 130 major projects in the state. Okay? So I can tell you, last year, the majority of the projects from FERDAP were funded to be ranked 21 out of 130 when we haven't put in a FERDAP application in a while. This is a very, very, very good position that the city is in. So as I get more information, I will let you know, but we're talking about a $400,000 project of enhancements for Washington Parks. I wanted you guys to know. Very, very important. Okay, and continue to thank the mayor and council for their tremendous support up in Tallahassee and for all our parks. Okay? With that said, I wanted to move to our first annual community Spring Fest. We had to move the date. Our Parks and Rec director informed me that on April 19th we'll have a very large Bangladesh festival, and we would be competing for parking and for space. So our Spring Fest will take place Sunday, May 17th. And as we start getting closer to the date, we'll start putting out more information. But mark your calendars for Sunday, March 17th from 1 to 6 p.m. I'm sorry, May 17th from 1 to 6 p.m. For our Spring Fest. And one more item that I know Councilwoman Barbara Kramer will speak about when it's towards the end of the meeting for folks that are watching now. We have our North Miami Beach Magical History Tour, and that's very, very exciting. I know, Richard, you've been very interested in attending that, and that's going to take place Saturday, April 18th from 9:30 a.m. is check-in and 10 a.m. is departure, and the buses are leaving from the North Miami Beach Library. So if you guys want more information, contact us for your RSVP at 305-948-2957. And speaking of historical, we have also put in the legislative request funding for our beautiful and historic Fulford Fountain. And we've positioned ourselves very well with that. And two more projects that we put out there to take us from septic to sewer. And as the legislative process moves and we become aware of more information, I will let everybody know. But we think we're going to have a really great year up in Tallahassee. And this concludes my report.
Excellent news. Thank you very much, Ms. Garcia. Mr. Smith, your report, please.
The only case that I'd like you to know about is a bankruptcy that is listed. I think the name is Aventura Harbor Center. The city received from the bankruptcy court over $21,000, which was the entire debt owed by this particular property that went into bankruptcy. So that's money for our finance department.
Okay.
And other than that, I don't have anything else.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Attorney. Okay, let's go ahead and move into our legislation. Let's take item 15.1.
Move to introduce resolution number R 2015-18.
Second.
Resolution R 2015-18. A resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami Beach, Florida, accepting a dedication of an alleyway in substantially the attached form for a 10-foot portion of the alleyway on the north portion of lots 35 and 36, less the south 15 feet for State Road 9, Block 10 of Alita Terrace, North Miami Beach, recorded in Plat Book 8 at page 117 of the Public Records of Miami-Dade County, Florida, and authorizing the recordation of said easement in the Public Records of Miami-Dade County, Florida.
Move to adopt.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Garcia, who's in truth can explain this? Mr. Lober? Okay.
Very briefly, this is a commercial property at 45 Northeast 167th Street. The property owner approached the city. They had discovered that their property backs onto an alley. All the other properties along the alley had decades ago dedicated the land, and this was now a city alley. Only this one property never did. So we are accepting the dedication of a 10-foot strip of the back of his property along the alley. So now the alley will be complete. And in consideration of this, we are paying last year's the taxes that he paid on this strip of land, plus costs of research that he had to do to get all this information. That's an amount of $400. So we recommend that we accept this dedication and pay the $400.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone with any questions? No? Okay, all right, this resolution on Resolution 2015, can we just do a voice vote on this? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, on the Resolution 2015-18, moved and seconded to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No? Okay.
Move to introduce resolution number R 2015-21.
Second.
An ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami Beach, Florida, amending the Zoning and Land Development Code of the...
Come out. We're on 15.2, 2015-21. That's the one I have next.
Wrong one. I apologize.
Resolution, yeah.
2015-21. A resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami Beach, Florida, calling for a general election to be held on May 5th, 2015, for the purpose of electing a mayor and 3 city council members in groups 1, 3, 5, and 7, providing for conduct of same by the Miami-Dade County Elections Division, providing that voting precincts shall be those as established by Miami-Dade County, and providing for a runoff election if required on May 19th, 2015.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Attorney, you want to explain this one, or Madam Clerk?
I would
Somebody?
defer to the clerk.
The clerk? Madam Clerk.
Mr.
Please.
Mayor, this is a resolution just notifying the public and letting the council call for a general election.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
And I would also add designating our polling places. Some of our polling places did change this year, so.
Okay. All right. So it's more of a housekeeping detail related to the election.
Exactly.
And,
Okay.
Yeah, and we have no discretion. The county is telling us that it has to be
It
done.
has to be done. Okay. All right. Any questions? No? Okay.
I just Madam Clerk, explain to the public why this is a resolution and then there are going to be two ordinances that appear to go right along with this.
Which, by the way, I'm going to ask that my council, do you guys agree? Let's take them out of order so we can deal with all these are related.
Okay. And I just did that to put them in numerical order. But the resolution, we can always, it just goes hand in hand with our charter that actually gives us the date of our election, and we're just giving the resolution to notify them. And because the charter states that I must come before you to notify you of our polling places and the general election.
All right. And since we're going to...
You want to do the ordinances also?
You know what? Well, let's just vote on it real fast. We'll get this. This one's resolution, yes.
Exactly.
Okay, on resolution 2015-21, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, just for the public, I want to mention that, like the city clerk alluded to earlier, some of the precincts number has been changed, especially for people living in Skylick area. As you can notice, precinct 110 is no longer there, but those people live there. Some of them are part of 115, some of them are part 116. So look on your registration card to see exactly
The county has sent out letters of notification as to if there was a change in your precinct. And, of course, you can always call the clerk's office, 305-787-6001, to get updated information.
Okay.
Repeat the numbers slower, please.
305-787-6001.
Thank you.
Can we put that on our website?
It is.
Okay. Let's go ahead and jump out of order and take the other two ordinances related to the election.
Ordinance number 2015-6, first reading by title only.
Second it.
Okay.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of North Miami Beach, Florida, relating to municipal elections, changing the date for the City of North Miami Beach municipal runoff election, now scheduled for May 12, 2015 to May 19, 2015, and to adjust the terms of office of sitting council persons necessitated by such change of date, as requested by the Miami-Dade County Supervisor of Elections and as authorized by Florida Statutes 166.0214 and 100.36052, providing for the repeal of all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the codification of this ordinance, and providing for an effective date.
Move to adopt.
This is a first reading.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, you want to just explain this one?
Okay. Our charter states that our runoff election is to be held 1 week after our general election. The county needs time to get the machines recalibrated and so forth, so therefore they ask that we move it 2 weeks. This is an ordinance moving that, because it's in the charter, to the 2 week period. And just note that the city attorney and I have decided that after all is said and done and we get past this election, we're going to sit down and do some general housekeeping stuff to bring it up to date so we don't have to go through this every election.
Okay. So this is one of those items that would be addressed in the charter.
If we were doing the charter.
We have the charter, great.
Exactly. We had planned on having it in there, but...
All right. Well, we'll get it done, I guess, somewhere. Was there anybody with any questions? No?
No, I just wanted to say that that's another one of the issues we can't forget when we bring up what we want to do about the charter.
Absolutely. Okay.
The clerk already said it. Thank you.
Moved and seconded to approve ordinance 2015-6. Madam Clerk, please take the roll call vote.
Councilman DeFilippo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kramer?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martell?
Yes.
Councilman Pierre?
Yes.
Councilwoman Smith?
Yes.
Councilwoman Spiegel?
Yes.
Mayor Valle?
Yes.
Yes.
The item passes 7-0 on first reading.
Okay, let's take 2015-7 rather.
Motion to introduce ordinance 2015-7, first
Second.
reading.
Second.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of North Miami Beach, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 7, Elections, specifically Section 7-14, Early Voting, providing for early voting dates and times for the City of North Miami Beach general election to be held in May 2015, providing for the repeal of all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, providing for severability, codification, and for an effective date. This is a first reading.
Okay. Is anyone
Mike,
making a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded to approve. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, this is an ordinance asking that we elect to have our early voting. I have contacted the county letting them know that our early voting dates will stay the same as they did last year. The dates will run from April 30th through May 3rd, April 30th and May 1st, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., May 2nd and May 3rd, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay. Any comments, questions? No? Okay. All right. Yeah, 2015-7 has been moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Kramer? Vice Mayor Martell?
Yes.
Councilman Pierre?
Yes.
Councilwoman Smith?
Yes.
Councilwoman Spiegel?
Yes.
Councilman DeFilippo?
Yes.
Mayor Vael?
Yes.
The item passes 7-0 on first reading.
Okay, now let's go ahead and we'll go back to ordinance 2015-5 on first reading.
Move to introduce ordinance 2015-5 on first reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, perfect. Moved and seconded. Okay, Mr. Attorney?
An ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami Beach, Florida, amending the zoning and land development code of the North Miami Beach Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 24, North Miami Beach Zoning and Land Development Code, Article 5, Zoning Use Districts, Section 24-58, FCC Fulford City Center Mixed Use, to be deleted and replaced with Mixed Use MU District, Section 24-58.1, Purpose and Intent, to be amended and renamed Fulford Mixed Use Town Center District, MUTC. Section 24-58.2, land uses to be deleted and replaced with Mixed Use Employment Center District, MUEC. Section 24-58.3, site design, to be deleted and replaced with Mixed Use Neighborhood Center District, MUNC. Section 24-58.4, building design, to be deleted and replaced with Arch Creek Mixed Use Quarter, MUC. Section 24-58.5, supplemental regulations, to be deleted and replaced with Southern Mixed Use Waterfront District, Southern MUWF. Section 24-58.6, Northern Mixed Use Waterfront District, Northern MUWF, to be added. And Section 24-58.7, Eastern Mixed Use Waterfront District, Eastern MUWF, to be added, creating certain mixed-use zoning districts and providing for district regulations and sub-area regulating plans, street network, connectivity regulating plans, designated public open spaces, and greenway systems regulating plans, and building height regulating plans for each mixed-use district, amending the official zoning map referenced in Section 24-31 of the North Miami Beach Code of Ordinances, to rezone certain property and apply the mixed-use zoning designations to those certain properties as provided for in the attached Exhibit A, providing for the repeal of all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, providing for severability, codification, and for an effective date. This is a first reading.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. That was a long one. All right. And is there anyone that, can I get a motion to?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Perfect. Motion to approve, second over here. Okay, Madam Manager, I guess, you want to tee this up and explain everything real quick?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Approximately a year ago, we embarked on a mission of legacy proportions for our city. And we assembled a team that I believe is one of the best teams that you could put together. There's almost 100 years of experience between the team from RMA and Miss Jean and Miss Natasha. We're able to bring Richard Lorber into the mix, and and Sarah Johnson and our fine attorney Jose Smith, to really bring together a very cohesive group to bring us forward on this endeavor. We've had a multitude of public meetings with all our stakeholders. This council has been amazing, not just in the public meetings, but in the one-on-one meetings. And today, we take that first step to really taking this to fruition. The economic development, the future of our city. And we also got a thumbs up today
from the state that our comp plan has been accepted, and everybody who's seen our comp plan in every single agency of the state has said tremendous, great job. So I'm just full of pride and full of joy in regards to moving our city forward so all of our city can benefit, our parks, and every single resident that lives here. So with that said, I will turn it over to Natasha Alfonso so she can take us to the promised land on this ordinance.
That's a big responsibility. But thank you, Anna, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the board. Thank you so much for this opportunity tonight. We're very excited to bring this to you to hopefully approve what we've worked on for so long now, for almost a year. In terms of what we're going to cover tonight, we're going to be very brief. I know we've had extensive presentations that ran through all of the details of the proposed improvements and regulations for each and every one of these mixed-use districts. I will touch upon very briefly on the public input process. We're going to specifically talk about the comments that were addressed after the City Council workshop that we had just a couple of months ago, as well as the Planning Board hearing. And then we're going to talk about the items that need to be addressed after this gets passed on second reading, because there are certain things that we need to address in other sections of the code, and ultimately we'll end with the project timeline, which we're nearing the very end. In terms of the public input process, Anna has said it correctly. We've had 7 public workshops. Those have been in addition to the public hearings, where we've talked about the specific changes to the comp plan, as well as the zoning. We've had extensive stakeholder input, even to the very last, till Friday of last week. We've had one-on-one discussions with the particular stakeholders of each and every one of these mixed-use districts to make sure that we're addressing their needs. One thing I do want to note is that between today and March 17th, which is our scheduled or tentatively scheduled second reading, there is still some room for minor tweaks. So anything that we feel that is important, we will address it, and we will not let that be unheard today. But obviously, we've gone, aside from the comp plan amendment, we've gone through a specific workshop with the council, specifically for the zoning amendments. On February 9th, we had the Planning Board discussions that was heard at that hearing, and we had some specific comments that were brought up for the code itself that we will address today. And then obviously in terms of the districts that we're encompassing, in terms of the changes, we've got the town center area, which is the Fulford City Center area, the 2 employment centers, that's the area south of 163rd Street, and the area south of 159th Street. We have 3 waterfront districts, that's the north, the south, and the east, being Marina Palms area, the Blue Palms area, and the Intercoastal Mall. We have the mixed-use corridor district, which is the area to the south along Biscayne Boulevard, that's just north of the Highland Village neighborhood. And we've got the neighborhood center mixed-use district, which is the area along West Dixie Highway, just north of the Spanish Monastery. In terms of the comments that were addressed after that City Council workshop, where we've heard from you some specific issues that you wanted us to address, I'm going to run through what those issues were that we heard from the council, as well as other issues that were addressed by staff, and then in our discussions, individual discussions with the stakeholders. In terms of the City Council comments, we were asked to, in context of the regulating plans, we were asked to change the term required open space to the approximate location of required open space. Again, that's to give flexibility for where the proposed open spaces will be located within a specific district. In addition to that, in the East Waterfront District specifically, we removed the location requirement of the 65,000 square foot open space that we originally had to be located on the northwest corner of the site. We clarified that. We removed it so that it could be located anywhere within the site. And we also clarified the total space, open space requirement within the district. We actually changed the language when we talked about screening if you recall, when we talked about screening the electrical substations to make it more flexible, we added the language that says now it's substantially screened rather than entirely. That was something that was addressed. And then we clarified the buffer requirement within the East Waterfront District along 35th Avenue to be specifically stated at 50 feet. In terms of other comments, you will notice that this draft is slightly different when you look at the areas, the districts that are within the CRAs. You will notice that we actually removed the tax incentive program language. And the only reason that was removed from the zoning language is because that is something that needs to be adopted separately by the CRA through a separate resolution. So that it will still remain and will be brought forward to you by second reading. We changed the term open space in general to reflect the words publicly accessible open space, again, to give more flexibility in terms of the location of those open spaces and the accessibility. But it still requires public access. And the last thing that we changed in terms of general comments is we added new streets and street section requirements under the approval conditions for the mixed-use corridor and the 3 waterfront districts. We wanted to specify those requirements for those districts as well as the ones that we've done in the CRA areas. In terms of specific text changes, I'm going to run through each one of these districts, and then I have some images that will help explain what these changes were. But for the mixed-use town center, for example, along Northeast 164th Street, east of Northeast 21st Avenue, one of the things that we did is to allow more flexibility. We actually now allow vertical and horizontal integration of residential. We do still require residential because, again, we want this area to be thriving with the opportunity for transit-oriented development and mixed use. But we are making it more flexible so that if it needs to be horizontally and vertically integrated, it's permitted to do so. In the employment centers, in the mixed-use employment centers, we've added the use of the public storage to be permitted. Again, this is one of the districts that's primarily auto-oriented, but with design criteria to ensure that it is still transit-oriented. We've added a second development scenario, which I'm going to go through in detail in the next few slides, for the transitional area. And this was after, again, intensive discussions with the stakeholders within the area and input, which we are still doing as we're working through this document. In the mixed-use corridor, that's the area to the south along Biscayne Boulevard on the east, we changed the transitional area that's abutting the Highland Village residential to the south. We changed that from 150 to 120 feet, still maintained the low heights along that edge, but we did change that on the regulating plans in the text. In the general mixed-use language, that's the document that provides all the general development standards for all of the mixed-use districts and that apply to all of them the same. We've actually added an administrative waiver language to allow administrative waivers from the planning director, for example, for specific things that are related to lot requirements, and that's coverage, pervious areas, depth, and width, again, in order to be able to give that flexibility that you need for minor things such as those, and only those. And then in all of them, in all of the mixed-use districts, we made sure that all of them had the same street flexibility for the alignment of primary and secondary streets, allowing them to have to not require that a specific location, but that it's the general idea of the location of those streets. In all of them, we're requiring that primary and secondary streets be 95% open to the sky, but allow for pedestrian bridges and canopies. This was a very important addition to our text changes, again, to ensure the streets have the quality of that openness. And then a minor thing was that we obviously numbered the figures and tables to get it now through this stage of the development of the code. In terms of the regulating plan and diagram changes, the 3 districts that had some changes, the first one was the employment center, as I said. We added a second development scenario, which we will go through in detail in just a minute. The South Waterfront District, we amended the length of the waterfront promenade on the open space regulating plan and the dimensional criteria for the section of that waterfront promenade. You will see that we also added we made a small tweak to the regulating plan, which I will go through as well. In the mixed-use corridor district, again, as I said, in the regulating plan, just as in the text, we changed the transition area to 120 feet. And then in all of the open space regulating plans, we obviously changed the title to be very clear that it's designated publicly accessible open spaces and greenways regulating plans. So now I'm going to go through each one of these districts, specifically where the changes were made as they related to both the text as well as the regulating plans. The first one is the employment center. As I said, we are maintaining, and one of the things that we heard through the planning board discussions when we took the zoning to the planning board was that they requested that we maintain the original development scenario that we proposed for the transition of heights. But in order to address, again, the stakeholders' input, we've actually developed a second development scenario, which I'm going to go through in a minute, for the transitional area. So just to start with the first development scenario, if you look at the code regulations, When we proposed this, when we brought this forth to you the first time, we've always considered as the first development scenario to include some sort of buffer, landscape buffer. We actually require a 100-foot landscape buffer along the adjacent single-family residential district within the employment center district. This is the area on the west side of the district, just south of 159th Street. And that, again, is for compatibility and in order to protect the quality of life for those residents along the west side. In addition to that 100-foot landscape buffer, in the first development scenario, we require a transitional area between 300 and 370 feet, depending on where you are within the plan or within the area. You can see it very clearly. The area along 159th Street has a transitional area of 300 feet, but if you're further on the south side near Dixie, there's actually a transitional area of 370 feet. And that is, again, to be able to provide more green space, which is one of the things that we think is important for this district. The other thing that we require within development scenario number 1 is 150 feet of transitional area, the first 150 feet to be actually allocated for residential use only. Again, compatibility and quality of life for those residents along the western edge, the existing single family. After several discussions, again, with the property owners and understanding their and listening to their input, we've been asked to look at a second development scenario, and this was, again, per the planning board's direction. They wanted us to look at the possibility of introducing another development scenario which would allow for a lower, instead of a landscape buffer, a lower density and intensity along the area that's immediately adjacent to the west portion of the site. So one of the things that we did is we looked at the site very carefully and proposed an alternative per their suggestion to actually develop townhomes along the western portion adjacent to the single-family residential. We think that's very compatible. What we would allow in that particular area would be a maximum of 3 stories as long as it's residential in use. Could be townhomes, could be low-scale apartment buildings, but it does have to be residential in use. So in the area that is circled in green, and you can see it on your screen, there is a maximum of 3 stories for the first 150 feet, a maximum of 6 stories beyond the first 150 feet, and up to 225 feet. And you can see those lines where they're drawn on the map to show exactly that transition that is required. Beyond that, obviously, it's permitted to go up to 15 floors and then 20 on the area that's closest to West Dixie Highway. Then the portion that is actually circled in red, what we're proposing there is that for the first 245 feet, there's really no development. Again, there's an additional green space that would be made to connect to the Taylor Park that's existing to the southwest, and it would be utilized for the residents within that area that is, again, publicly accessible. Then beyond the 245 feet, there would be a maximum of 6 stories, and that is up to 400 feet. And then those properties that are along West Dixie Highway would be permitted to go up to 15 stories. So you can see that there are 2 very clearly different development scenarios. Both still respect the compatibility and transition requirements that we feel are very important and integral to the quality of life of that residential development to the west. However, for development scenario to take place, for the property owner to take advantage of the second development scenario, they are required to adhere to several conditions. The first condition is, if you look at the language that is there, if they choose to do development scenario number 2, closest to Taylor Park, that development that is the closest to Taylor Park has to be oriented towards the park and provide frontage. This is important because if you recall in all of the endless discussions and presentations that I've given about the design analysis of that site, I've mentioned how Taylor Park is so hidden. It has no visibility, no frontage, and would be a shame if new development didn't provide eyes on the park, and obviously improvements to the park. The other thing that we would require is vehicular and pedestrian connectivity that has to be provided through the park as generally depicted in this particular regulating plan. And again, that's to provide connectivity and access to the park in conjunction with the new park that they build on their property, within their property. And then obviously, additionally, publicly accessible open space is required within their property. And then the last requirement is the developer shall provide improvements to Taylor Park in exchange for the increased development intensity as permitted in the height development scenario number 2. The park improvements shall be defined by the city in conjunction with the developer. So again, this is written in here so that it can be explored later what other types of improvements are needed for Taylor Park, but we feel it is important that that be a condition to be allowed to do the second development scenario. So moving on to the next district, the mixed-use South Waterfront District. As I mentioned, we amended the length of the waterfront promenade on the open space regulating plan and the dimensional criteria for the actual waterfront promenade section. I'm going to show you what that looks like. And then since we've had additional discussions with the stakeholders and property owners within that South Waterfront District, we've made a couple of amendments to the regulating plans that we think still keep the integrity, but helps create more flexibility and predictability for the developer and the property owners. So here's the regulating plan in the section along the waterfront promenade. We've actually changed the section along the waterfront promenade to be a minimum of 20. We've given them two alternatives if they do the boardwalk along within the canal side, and a public walkway within their private property, or a minimum of 20 feet all within their private property. But again, we've amended that section to be a little bit more flexible. These properties, some of the properties, particularly the ones on the northwest, have very little depth along the waterfront, and our goal is to get waterfront access, but also make their site a little bit more developable. So we tweaked that a little bit. We shortened the length of the waterfront promenade, and obviously because there's issues of there's mangroves that are located on the east side of the river that obviously could not contain a public waterfront, because that's just an environmental issue that is currently existing there. And then in terms of the street network that we talked about, again, through that input from the various stakeholders within that district, the property owners felt that it was important to designate Northeast 165th Terrace as a secondary street rather than as we had it, which was a tertiary street that could be vacated and assembled for, or vacated for assembling purposes. And we felt that that's a very positive thing. That's actually a very good thing that they're interested in designated a secondary street. It makes that street have more character and more importance, and therefore there will be more restrictions and more requirements for that particular roadway to be designed properly for pedestrian use. And then you can see that the alignment of the roads, while this is all very flexible, and it was in the very beginning, it's still very flexible, it depicts a little bit closer or a little bit more reality in terms of what the current property ownership is. So obviously, whether the property ownership changes or not, that can be adjusted in the future, because the lines are pretty much flexible. And obviously, in terms of the open spaces, what we talked about, the urban greenway allocation and the open spaces that you see shaded in gray reflect that new change in the pattern, as well as the building heights. Along the mixed-use corridor, there was a very minor little tweak. That's, as I mentioned earlier, we changed we reduced the transition area on the south side adjacent to the Highland Village neighborhood from 160 to 120 feet, and we removed the 50-foot landscape buffer. We're still keeping the low height, which is the 3 stories along that neighborhood edge. And a lot of this came after, again, discussions with stakeholders and making sure that we can make their sites still feasible for development. So we felt that losing 30 feet was not a big issue. We're still maintaining that compatibility of height. And you can see that here in that regulating plan in the area that's circled in yellow. And that's it in terms of the changes. The items that still need to be addressed after the adoption of the zoning regulations, as I mentioned, we took out the tax incentive menu from the zoning regulations. That's going to be adopted separately through a separate resolution by the CRA with the same specific criteria that we talked about in incentives, because we're here to create incentives for new development and redevelopment. So those are going to be adopted separately. We're also going to be establishing a resolution. We're going to be adopting a resolution establishing the funds for both the public infrastructure and streetscape improvements, as well as the public open space and public art, which is citywide. We're going to be establishing as well the fees for each one of those assessments. And we need to talk about, after this, cost recovery for site plan reviews, because there will be quite a bit of new development coming in with new site plans, and making sure that the city can cover the expense to review those site plans, and again, for design purposes, make sure that we're adhering to the new code regulations, that things are being developed in the proper way. We will be establishing after this as well, we're going to be establishing criteria for vacating right-of-ways and air rights easements. This is important, particularly when we talked about from the very beginning for alleyways that could be vacated for assembly purposes, particularly in the town center, where you have very shallow lots. And then, obviously, we will be addressing, after this, through a separate zoning code amendment to the MH1, which is the mobile home park 1 zoning category for the Highland Village neighborhood area, to amend the heights that we've been talking about to allow for greater heights within smaller lots. And then lastly, we're going to be addressing the cafe ordinance, which we think is very important in order to encourage, again, sidewalk cafes along along the main roads within each one of these mixed-use districts. In terms of the project timeline, as you can see, we're in the home stretch. We've got one more meeting, which is our second reading for March 17th. We've gotten clearance from the state for the comp plan approval, so we are good to go for that date if the council chooses so. But that is our next step, and that should finally adopt the document. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. I know that this is something that we've all been looking forward to, and I think you've done an amazing job. Let me see if the rest of our council has any questions. Does anyone have any questions?
Not question, but just one comment. Ordinance 2015-5 is the one that the residents will remember for a long time. Like the manager say, this is something in historic proportion. The future of city, in some ways, depend on this. And I want to say thank you to the staff, to RMA, and all the residents for the inputs. And together, we'll continue to rise. The way it is now, we can aim for the sky.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't know we had it open.
Okay, we're all set with the.
Yes.
We went through it. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and open the floor for public comment. If anyone wishes to address the council on this ordinance. None. Okay. Wait. Got a couple of takers.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Stanley Price. I represent several property owners who are stakeholders in this effort. Approximately a year ago, based upon more than 30 years' experience with this city, you set a very ambitious schedule, so much so that I did not think you were able to meet those expectations. In fact, I filed a private application because I advised my clients that we would not get through this process within the time period that you had indicated. Your staff and your outside consultants have done an unbelievable job, and I hope you appreciate what they have done. I'm not standing before you feeling that this is a perfect document. No document is ever perfect. But I will tell you there was never one instance where I asked for a meeting. I did not get, waited a day or so before I got a response. They sat with me. They sat with my clients. They attempted to accommodate in every way possible. That goes from your legal staff to your planning staff and the like, the manager, the mayor, and you've come up with a remarkable document, something that I've been saying for 30 years this city has really needed. You're going to find there's going to be tweaks along the road, and let me reserve my little reservation that I may criticize certain parts of this ordinance in the future. But on a whole, I think you've done a wonderful job, and I think you'll see on a project-by-project basis, you are going to have to find a little bit more flexibility if you feel the project is the appropriate project for the area. I thank everybody for what they have done. It's remarkable, Jose coming on board and Richard coming on board, as well as the other people who have contributed to this, made this work. And it's a remarkable document in a remarkable, basically short period of time. One project usually takes a year through the DRI process. And this is more than one project. This is a large portion of a major city. And I thank you all for your efforts, and I hope the beginning of a new day for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Price. With your experience in South Florida and Florida land regulations, we appreciate those. We certainly appreciate those comments. Thank you. Wait, there's a question here.
Yeah, Mr. Price, can I ask you a question?
I gave to the
No. I sat down, and let's admit, I'm not a zoning
Next
attorney.
year's
I've
is closer than you think.
I've never done development. When you read this, does this all make sense to you?
It makes sense. It's not particularly the way I would have done it, but it makes a lot of sense. And honestly, I think it sets a really template for development. It gives the developer and it gives the neighborhood a clear understanding what to anticipate when an application comes before this body. And as I indicated, there's probably going to be minor tweaks along the way.
Always.
But short of master planning and rezoning every single parcel in the city, this is an excellent framework for future development.
So for us lay people, that this looks like gobbledygook, it makes sense to developers, to their attorneys who read this stuff all the time.
Oh, I believe it does, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Price. Next speaker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jason James. I'm here with CPH Engineers Incorporated. We are been contracted. We're a land development firm. Been contracted by Target Corporation, who operates a store within this corridor. That's it's before the council today. It's located within area number 8 of the proposed zoning map. And I would just like to, on behalf of Target, read the following statement. On behalf of Target Corporation, we respectfully request to have our property excluded from the proposed rezoning boundaries. The subject property is located at 14075 Biscayne Boulevard, listed under folio number 072221 031 0010, and is within the proposed MUC zoning district. Target believes that the proposed code amendment contains design elements and provisions that hinders its future opportunities to add growth, redevelop its property, and we also believe that the proposed code amendments diminishes the overall property value, and respectfully request that this particular property is removed from the proposed zoning resolution that is before you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. James. Let's see. Let's. Is there anybody else from public comment? No? Okay. Sir? Are you? No? Okay. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead. All right, so public comment will be closed. I'd like to go ahead and ask a question. I guess, Mr. Attorney, really, this last comment about Target, their request.
Mr. Mayor, if I could ask the gentleman that spoke a question.
From Target?
Yes.
What's the question?
I want to know why Target feels it would diminish the value of their property.
Okay. Well, let's first, I guess, determine, is this even appropriate for us to be considering in this manner? I mean, somebody, I guess, Mr. Attorney, give us some guidance on this.
Yeah, I think
it's certainly within your discretion to carve out this particular property. Having discussed it in great detail with Mr. Lorber this afternoon, I really see no reason why you would want to do that. What this property owner appears to be asking you to do is exempt them from zoning regulations that would apply to everybody else in the city. They want to be treated separately from everyone else. And furthermore, the proposed zoning amendments that affect this property actually reflect good zoning principles. So I see no basis really for you to carve this out and provide them with benefits that nobody else in the city is getting.
Okay, thank you for that, for the legal answer. So I guess really what it comes down to is we've moved and seconded for approval of the ordinance, and of course anyone on the council is free to move if they make move to amend it accordingly, and then we can discuss it. Other than that, I don't think we need to get deviate on that. Yes, go ahead, Ms. Lorber.
One of the things that we discussed this afternoon with Richard is that we would be more than happy to meet with Target to really go over the benefits of
between first and second reading, obviously.
Correct.
Okay. So there would still be time to address it if there was some. Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't see how we could be prepared to to vote on something like that without being here till 6 in the morning.
We would not recommend.
Right, exactly. So, that would be something that would be dealt with in between. And again, anybody from the council can make a motion if they want, but we'll go from there. Okay, public comments closed. We're going to go ahead and start our council discussion. And let me see. Who made the motion? Who made the motion? Let me give them the first option. I'm sorry.
I made it.
Okay, Mr. Pierre, Councilman Pierre, do you want to start?
You seconded, Council Vice Mayor Martel.
Vice Mayor Martel, do you want to start off? You get first option. If not, whoever.
Actually, I just had, since this issue with the Target came up, I just wanted a quick clarification as to the zoning of it. The zoning's not changing, correct?
Yes, it's changing.
Yes,
But it's changing for an improvement?
Yes. That's correct. They have B2 on a great portion of their property and
Okay.
RM23.
Okay.
This is giving them more.
Okay. The reason I asked is because I know that there's an issue when you bring the property down. As long as you give it more, then it's
Correct.
It's
Vice
a
Mayor.
benefit to the property owner.
Which page are you on? I got to just question. so we're all on the
This is
same page.
18, and over here on the book is page 15.
Everybody got that? 18
And-
in the handout, 15 in the booklet.
This was another question that I asked. I actually asked our city manager, and this portion I just want for clarification for our audience. We had discussed about schools, and I know that in our strategic plan, one of the things that has come up, and in talking to a couple of property owners, developers, so on and so forth, the issues of school has come up a couple of times. So I just wanted to clarify that there is a portion in here
Yes.
that deals with schools so that we have options when it comes to schooling and our kids.
We have in the permitted use tables for each and every one of these 7 districts included schools to be permitted anywhere, and they're under the category of public assembly,
Okay.
which is how it is in your regular zoning code, so yes.
This is something, the reason why I brought it up is this is something that I may bring up again in a workshop, and I wanted our council to be aware of that there's a need for schools, not only from our residents, but also from the developers that are coming forth. So
Yes.
just wanted you to know. Thank you.
Councilwoman Smith?
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'm not going to belabor the point because to my understanding, what we're doing here is only improving values of properties. But because a representative from Target did come before us and because he had a negative feeling, I just wanted to know if he has anything he could add so that I could digest it the next 2 weeks, that why Target has that desire to exempt.
Sure. Let's see if they want to give us any further information.
I do not have any further information to divulge right now with staff, but I think before the second reading, Target's legal team and I guess they're also their real estate managers will be reaching out to council in order to further discuss some of the, I guess, viewpoints that they may have regarding
Okay.
this matter.
Okay, I appreciate that. And I
Thank you, Mr.
staff-
James.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. And staff, as soon as we have a clarity why there's that difference of opinion from a corporation like that, as soon as you know, I'd like that information passed on to us. I wanted to add, Mr. Mayor, for just a minute, if I could, because as the public sees this, and as we've gone to these workshops, what the need to understand is that there is no way North Miami Beach could sit dormant and have the kind of very deserving services for their residents, whether it be additional police, additional equipment for the police, additional recreation, upgraded recreation, additional landscaping, additional schools, whatever the needs are in today's world, nobody's giving us those needs for free. And so the only thing I can say is this plan, with all the hard work, has made sure that the revenue that's going to come in to benefit the entire city is going to come in where there's already at the side of the city, at the back of the city, property to be developed, property to make some significant differences in our bottom line. And it's been done here to the extent that everybody in North Miami Beach, within, I'm going to say within a 24-month period, will not only reap the benefits, but they're going to see that their quality of life has not been diminished, but it's only been added to and added to and added to. And I can't wait, because you know what? In 2 years, people are going to say, I wish I lived in North Miami Beach. And that's what this is about. It is not going to diminish. It's only going to add, and it's going to give everybody in the city what they need to have everything that they haven't been able to get because we didn't have the revenue. And, you know, if you really study it, you'll see that there's not going to be any change or harm to your quality of life in the city. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Let's go here. All right, let's go here. Go ahead.
I just want to voice my appreciation and dedication to this entire staff. You know, sometimes it just takes a certain point in time in life, and whether it's a council, it's a staff, it's residents. Unfortunately, there's barely a resident in here, which is unfortunate, because I was hoping to see a lot of people, whether they're for or against it, to be involved in this process. Many years ago, there was a chance to do all this, and for the dynamics of the time, it just never happened. And then, of course, with the economy doing what it did, it probably wouldn't have happened regardless. And so it's given us more time, a different council, a different set of minds, a manager and an attorney, and certainly a planner and a company such as RMA, who I think are, I don't want to say more dedicated, but I think we just have different players today that I think are more knowledgeable. And I think with the economy and what it did, we certainly see a difference, which is what I see that I didn't see years ago. I wasn't involved enough, unfortunately. Maybe it's because I wasn't given that opportunity to be involved to really see the big picture. And the truth is, we live in Miami-Dade County. We live in the 305, where development was scary many years ago. We've seen what has happened around us. And like Councilwoman Smith said, you know, it gives us great opportunity to provide for our residents the pleasure of saying that they live in the city of North Miami Beach, and that we are able to lower their taxes, and that we are able to provide recreation and beautiful parks. That I think we do a great service in our community for what we have. I think our community efforts, if people would just involve themselves, are spectacular. And hopefully by rebranding ourselves, because we'll have the money to do so, this will capture a new audience for our city, and North Miami Beach will be what it was when I grew up here, which was a very fashionable, chic place to live. You know, I look forward to us, like I always say, being back on the map, having this renaissance here. And for me especially, growing up here and seeing the stagnation in this city for just so long, I'm excited to be a part of this change, a part of this growth, and very appreciative that I'm doing it with all of you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Spiegel.
First of all, I'm a little surprised to hear from Target, because what we sitting up here have been told all along is that you met with all of the stakeholders. So I'm going to ask staff and RMA to make certain that you meet with Target and get back to us before the next meeting. Absolutely. But this was one of the things that I discussed with staff and RMA, and so for the record, what is the current zoning on the Target property?
So they have two, B2 and RM23 towards the rear.
Okay, and what's the maximum height that they can go in B2 and RM23?
So in B2 you can go up to 15 floors. In RM23 is 3 stories. Obviously, if you did residential within B2, because that is a permitted use, you're subject to the RM23 requirement, which is the 23 units per acre. What this does, what this new zoning does, is that it doesn't prescribe a density for that particular site. Density is no longer an issue. Therefore, they can build whatever they can fit within the 15-floor envelope. So we've increased the height from 3 to 15.
Okay, and for everybody who's listening, who's not sitting here, we're not changing zoning citywide. What we're doing, as I understand it, is in these 8 targeted areas, we're giving new opportunities to do different types of development, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to share with anybody who's listening to that the proposals that are contained within each of these 8 different areas do, in fact, look at who the current stakeholders are, but are equally applicable if the properties are sold and or subdivided. That has been taken into account and anticipated, correct?
Correct, yes.
So that what we're really hoping is to see new and different types of development and new and different types of businesses and commerce within our city.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Councilman DiFilippo?
Yeah, I did have some reservations that I would like to go over with staff in reference to some of the numbers that I saw. But if you can kindly go over, I'm on page 10 and 11, transitional area. This is for the MU/EC subject proposed. I believe it's the Tico site. I've tried to do my homework on this site very, very in-depthly, in an in-depth matter, because I see that this is one of the biggest chunks of land that our city has. That's probably the only one that's available right now, with so much opportunity to be done to it. Can you go over these scenarios here real quick with me, because I have some reservations with some of these requirements.
Okay, so we've developed 2 development scenarios. The first one is where there is a landscape buffer required and provided along the western portion. Let me see if I can point on the screen. That's this western portion along the single family.
It's not on the
You
screen.
can't. Oh, because I'm on the screen. Okay, so the presentation is no longer, but on page 10, that western portion, just south of 159th Street, which is the area that's adjacent to the single family. In development scenario number 1, we've always talked about creating a landscape buffer that's 100-foot minimum in width. And that could be a park, it could be just a green space that's very not passive, it doesn't have to be active at all. And then from that 100 feet, we have what we call a transitional area. And the reason we have that transitional area is because we want to ensure that new development that comes in next to that single-family home doesn't come in at 15, 16 stories immediately abutting it, because that changes their quality of life, it changes the value of their properties. So we've created a transitional area that's 300 or 370 feet in depth. Where it's 300 is the area that is just to the north along 159th Street. And that means that within the first 300 feet, the maximum height that you can build in that first development scenario is 3 stories. From there, you can go up 6, 12, and then ultimately 20, and you can see it in the colored shaded areas. If you're on the southern portion of the site, that's the portion that's between Taylor Park and West Dixie, there's another transitional area, and the reason it's a little bit wider there is because we wanted to ensure that through the new open space requirement that there would be a good connection between Taylor Park and that new open space or green buffer area. So again, the heights that are permitted, the maximum heights that are permitted there is 4 stories. I apologize, and both of these are 4 stories. And then along West Dixie Highway, in this development scenario, it's permitted a maximum of 12. After having extensive input from the stakeholders of that particular property, and it was a suggestion that came at the planning board as well as the council workshop, one of the suggestions was to look at a different scenario which would allow, instead of having just a green space, and the reason that came up is because there was concern that green space could be, if it's not designed properly, it could be, it could be an additional dead space. Of course, in our code, we would require frontage on the green space, but that was the concern. So in order to allow for development, we wanted to ensure that there would be that same concept of transition. So in that second scenario, the area that's circled in green, you can see that there is a transitional area that's a lot less than the original, than the development scenario number 1, which is basically between 150 feet and 225 feet. That means that for the first 150 feet, you've got to build residential, again, so it's compatible, and you cannot exceed 3 stories in height. The difference between this and the first development scenario is that after the 150 feet, they're allowed to build 6 stories, and then incrementally after that, it's 15 and then 20. It just brings it a little bit closer, but you're still keeping that first 150 feet of just 3 stories, which is very compatible. Then the area to the south, which is the area circled in red, what we're saying there is that the transitional area is still 400 feet, and the max that can be built within that is the 6 stories. But they have to provide a green space in that first 245 feet that's immediately adjacent to the single-family residential. All of this would be subject to them providing those several conditions that I mentioned. The vehicular and pedestrian connectivity to Taylor Park, the new open space requirement within their property, the enhancement of Taylor Park, and that again is subject to whatever the commission or the council decides at the time of site plan approval. But it is very important that those things are addressed in order to get that development scenario number 2 approved. So I hope that
But they can choose
they can do either or. Yes, they can do.
Don't you think that there's too much linear buffer there on
one or 2?
On one.
Well, when this was created, I want to remind you, just if we go back a little bit in time, when we did our analysis of the current land use designation for this particular site, this site has an MU 1240. And and that just means that you can do up to 12 stories within the property, 40 units an acre. However, to do the 12 stories, the current land use regulations require you to do a transitional area of 300 feet. And there is a landscape buffer requirement already today.
We're going to change that.
So we felt that language that was in the comp plan was so good, was really there to help protect the single-family residential district, and we wanted to make sure that we maintain the spirit of that as well as allow for the flexibility to encourage new development. So in reality, we think this is doing that, and that's where it started. That's why we have the 2 development scenarios, is because we thought that green buffer could really be an expansion of Taylor Park, could help bring the connection of Taylor Park and the rest of the neighborhood and the district together, rather than leaving Taylor Park as it is now, which is sort of fenced and buffered away or disconnected from everything else.
So more like a seamless relationship between Taylor Park and
Yes,
the plant.
and the new development and the new park, yes.
But on development scenario number 2, which they can choose, there would not be that wide buffer. There would be the low-scale townhouse, low-scale apartments, which is very compatible with the single-family directly behind, and then they get more use of the entire property without having that wide area there. And in some respects, the activation of having homes there is better for eyes on the street, and where the buffer area, we said, might have a concern for being a dead space or overlooked, or you know, we really like the idea of having the development front the park. For example, if you see other parks where you know they're surrounded by homes or apartments, it just, that makes all the difference.
And if I may add to that, we have a row of townhouses that are being that are in the planning stages, overlooking Victory Park and overlooking the pool. So it's very very compatible to have that housing element adjacent to park. It's a win-win.
In real estate, that's the buffer between residential and multifamily is the townhouse.
Right.
Yep.
So let me just ask, in this particular case, Councilman DiFilippo, this one's kind of an easy one because it's one property owner. So is the property owner cool with the options that are laid out there?
We met with them and we discussed the townhouse proposal.
No, I'm just saying option 1 and 2.
Yes.
They have any objection? I didn't see them come up and say, you know, they didn't. So
They were very
does that, maybe that answers the question? I'm just trying.
And we can always make any small.
Right, we got time between first and second if there is something. Okay. All right.
I personally hope they do number 2.
I have. Does anybody have any other comments or questions? Because I just have a couple of comments, and then I'm ready to vote, but I'll give it if anybody has any further. No? All right, well, I just want to say, Madam Manager, Mr. Attorney, I got to really thank you guys and your staffs, because I think this process has gone longer than a year, quite honestly. I mean, I think we've been working on this for quite a long time, and this really we have accomplished a whole lot in that period of time. So I want to say thank you to all of the staff members that have put their heart and soul into this thing. I want to thank RMA, Natasha, your entire team. You guys have been fantastic. I want to thank the members of the community and the stakeholders and the property owners that have engaged in this process since the very, very first workshop way back, whenever it was. There has been so much input from everybody in this that's been tremendous. And I also want to thank everybody on the council, because this has been a big project, and we all agreed at the strategic plan that it was a critical item. And here we are standing, we're on the doorstep of passing, the second to final vote on this thing. So, because quite honestly, this is something, it takes vision to kind of get to this. It takes guts, and it also takes some faith in that. I'm pretty sure that most of us that are up here probably won't see, with us being up here, we probably won't see a lot of the transformation of the city that will come as a result of this. So, having that faith that this is the right thing and that this is a legacy type project, because this is something that protects our single-family neighborhoods. It offers tremendous options in housing and business choices and modern options that the public wants today as far as where to live and where to work. As Councilwoman Smith said, it will provide a base of resources for us to have the resources needed to give the residents the things that they need in public safety and parks and everything else. And it's going to capitalize on our world-class location, so that we're going to bring, as Councilwoman Kramer said, we're going to bring the pride back to NMB. We're going to enhance massively the quality of life of our residents. This is going to provide economic opportunity. It's going to provide a lot of jobs, and these are things that our residents and our city so much deserve. So I am really, really happy to say absolutely yes, that I'm voting for this, and and this is going to be a great thing. This is going to be one of those things. It's a piece of paper right now, but 10 years from now, people will say, "Wow!" I know somebody said it up here. Somebody's going to say, "Wow, look at North Miami Beach," and I'm very, very proud to be involved in it. So, thank you all. Let's vote, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Martel?
Yes.
Councilman Pierre?
Yes.
Councilwoman Smith?
Yes.
Councilwoman Spiegel? Yes. Councilman DeFilippo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Valle?
Yes.
The item passes on first reading.
Unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, well, that's the last of our, okay, that's the last of our legislation, and let's go ahead and, Madam Clerk, if you'll take the reports from the council.
Councilman DeFilippo?
Yes, good evening, residents. I would like to thank everybody that came out today.
I think
today,
is 7
we made a tremendous accomplishment here in the city of North Miami Beach, moving this city forward with this tremendous comprehensive and zoning master plan. As our mayor said, in years to come, we will see the fruit of...
Hey, hold on one second, Councilman. Let me just get everybody... Hey, if everyone would please, if you... Stanley. Stanley,
a piece of this fruit is a...
Go ahead, Councilman.
Most of us will really appreciate the fruit that's going to come from this legislation that we have been moving forward. I hope everybody appreciates the work that has been put in. I thank my staff. I thank everybody in heart and soul. To Councilwoman Spiegel, congratulations. We had a great Health and Heart Walk. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank all the sponsors that participated in the event. We can't stop Mother Nature, but we got a little rain, and but you know what? It came at the end, and everybody had a great time. Nevertheless, I would be remiss if I didn't thank also the North Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce for their work and their effort in conjunction with the Commission on the Status of Women in helping get our members to have booths at this event and making sure that we made our city event a success. So thank you to all chamber members who participated, all members of the community that came out, and everybody who made it a tremendous success along with everything else that was done. This is something that we even had Channel 7 come out and work out with us, and it's something that I think everybody is starting to realize it's of importance, and health is something that we take very seriously here in North Miami Beach, and we'll continue to bring forth beautiful events like this. So thank you for the great job you did, Councilwoman Spiegel. It was a great event.
It was the whole council.
I understand, but you are the chair of the Commission on the Status of Women. So thank you, and thank you to the chamber. That's what I need to say. Have a nice.
Councilwoman Kramer.
Good evening, everybody. If you live long enough, you get caught in the rain without a raincoat and without an umbrella. I've never, ever experienced that before. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It was great seeing Detective Diaz there.
Yes.
He's amazing, strong, just wonderful for him to come out and participate in, and did a great walk and then a sprint, and he was gone, and so was my conversation with him. But it was a lot of fun walking and being with the community, which is really the best part. The jumping jacks really took me out. Anyway, and you guys know I'm on the treadmill every day, but I don't know, jumping jack's a whole nother story. Anyway, I just want to let everybody know Monday evening is our multicultural committee. Anybody who wants to join certainly would love to have you. We have some great things planned coming up in this budget year, so stay tuned. And of course, I want to invite everyone to the Magical History Tour, which, as our city manager mentioned, is Saturday, April 18th. We meet at the library at 9:30 in the morning, take off at 10 o'clock, get back by about 1. You'd really be amazed how much history is in 5 square miles, and very interesting history. Every city has a story, so does ours, and it's brought to you by our great tour guide, Alan Sokol, and of course, city's Parks and Rec Department. And you can hang out with me as well on that tour. So I look forward to seeing you all then. Time goes fast, and the people, the sign-up sheet goes fast. There's only about 45 spaces, not even on the bus. So if you want to come, please do it quickly. And have a great evening, and I will see you on my son's 18th birthday, March 17th.
Vice Mayor Martell.
Good evening, everyone. Again, I just have to say thank you for the Heart Walk. It was just such a great time to be out there. And I want to give a special thanks to K&D Boot Camp. David, I thought I was in shape until I did the squats and the jumping jacks, and haven't been able to sit well for a couple of days. So I know definitely that we got a good workout. So thank you, David, from K&D Boot Camp. You're amazing, and you do such a great job over at Ulita. I hope you guys can take advantage and go out there, because he really does do a fabulous job and really gets you into shape. In addition to that, this weekend was just extremely busy. We had the Special Olympics on Sundays, which I got to tell you, it was really an amazing event to be able to go out there, to be with the founding fathers that went ahead and put this together, the original 5 that put the Special Olympics together, especially our former mayor, Mishkan, that he was the gentleman involved in doing this, and it was really remarkable to be out there. The kids really enjoyed it, and more than anything, it's the support that you give your kids, that we must all give our kids 24/7, 24/7. So again, for Special Olympics, it was just amazing to be able to be part of it, and for the city to be one of the sponsors. So I'm glad that we have all agreed in the past to make that part of our budget. In addition to that, we also attended a memorial for the rabbi that got killed here in the section of our donut hole, and it was the 6-month memorial. But the reason why I want to bring it up to you is because this family suffered a tragedy, but they turned it around to go ahead and put together a van that they're going to travel from Key West all the way up to Washington to write the Torah and explain the Torah to the people and turn this tragic moment upside down into something that it becomes a memorial for this gentleman. So, again, the family has gone ahead and done such a wonderful job of bringing forth the memory of their dad that it really was really special to be out there with them that day. In addition to that, we have the Education Committee. I ask you, please, if you can just donate 1 hour a month for the Educational Committee, if you're a parent, if you're a teacher, if you have your children in the public schools, public school system, if you have them in a charter school, if you have them and you want to go ahead and help your schools, please join the Educational Committee. It's going to meet once a month. It's going to be the second Wednesday of the month, and it's going to be at 7 p.m. That gives you time to pick up your children, make dinner, and attend the meeting. And like I said, it will be 1 hour, and it will be an hour well spent because it's for your children. So please try to join the Educational Committee. For further information, contact our city clerk's office, 305-787-6001. 305-787-6001. Thank you very much, and my 3 minutes are up.
3 minutes.
Good night, everyone, and see you in 2 weeks. Thank you very much.
Councilman Pierre.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. First, let me start by congratulating every single one sitting up here. I know we have our differences, we have our tastes. If there is one thing that makes me feel really proud, is this ordinance 2015. Because the way we started more than a year ago, when we are today, it takes everybody's effort, talent, time. We don't know how many meetings, or many workshops, or many times we personally have to sit down with Richard, with the staff, with Anna, with IMA. So they have to explain every single thing in details. So when I go back to the resident, I can bring their input. And certainly, I'm very proud of every single one of you. And certainly, without a good staff, we would not be a good council. So I take this one to say thank you to our city attorney and his staff, to the city manager and his staff, and to our department heads. Everybody at some point or another get involved into this. Like one of my colleagues said earlier, maybe tonight we don't know what this accomplishes, but 10, 15, 20 years from now, you're going to say, I'm proud. I was on the council in 2015 when this passes. And on that note, I want to say thank you all, and I will encourage you to be together. Speaking of togetherness, every time we have events where families can mingle together, that's my favorite. Whether it's hard work, Special Olympics, thank you, Mayor Michigan, and every situation where we are a big community, we have a diverse community. So the pride is when we mingle together, we chit-chat together, had a great time. Even when the rain comes, I was enjoying myself. And the rest, the future will tell us. I love you all. Good night.
Councilwoman Smith.
Thank you very much. As far as the health walk goes, as everybody said, that really it is an amazing thing for our city. Unlike the other council members, I have a tendency to melt. And we walked, the mayor promised us we'd see no rain, and I believed him. So when we walked up the walk, it's a 2.75 miles. So, when we walked up the walk, and I was walking with people, and it started to sprinkle, I said, how great is our city? We didn't spend one dime to have a nice mist on you so you wouldn't be hot. How great is North Miami Beach? Okay, so then when you cross the bridge and now you have to walk the whole way back, and it didn't rain. Rain doesn't give you the vision of what we were walking in.
That is correct.
It does not give you the vision, and so therefore I not only want to thank everybody that participated, but I also want to thank the vendors, because they put their heart and soul. They came with all their stuff. They set up early, and of course the rain did cause a lot of them to close. And then when we went to the Special Olympics the next morning, I have to thank all those volunteers. It was so wet on that field that they had to come in the middle of the night to draw the lines for the kids. And it was a beautiful event. They, too, didn't have as much of a turnout for spectators as they would have liked because of the weather. But those that were there, it is such a gratifying, wonderful thing to see that every one of us can have enjoyment in life. I, too, want to say, in reference to the situation of the rabbi, I have suggested, and I think the community is going to do it, that they have an annual meeting in that very place right here in North Miami Beach, and that we never forget. And I want to thank our police officers. I want to thank the county police officers, because many of the people have said to me, because of that tragedy, they do see much more precedence for their safety. To Scott Esmond, I have to say, you are one of a few. I am sorry for your family's loss right now, but I have to tell you, wherever your grandmother is, she's very proud, and she always could be, because you help the city shine. There's nothing else to say. I'd like to also say to Daryl, I saw Daryl Thompson from Washington Park here earlier. Happy birthday. Today's his birthday. The only thing I can tell you is I heard what Washington Park said, and City Manager, I'd appreciate that. I do know that the community there, which brings me to my last event, you have to go to Washington Park to see that they put on their Black History show, and they have to bring in more chairs. They fill up the entire room, and there's not enough space, because they're a community that when one is happy, they're all happy. And when one is hurting, they're all going to make that hurt go away. So we're going to try to work on that for the entire city of North Miami Beach, but I hear them, and I think that's a good beginning. I also want to point out that tomorrow night, Mr. Lorber is going to be kind enough, my West Dixie Highway businesses, anybody that's a property owner, we are going to be above the Regions Bank on 161st Street at 6:30. So if you'd like to have a few questions answered about the zoning, or you'd like to go over it slowly, Mr. Lorber and I will be there. I've reached out to many of the businesses, and they're going to be in attendance, and it's going to be a very nice evening. And I can only say to everybody that's of the Jewish faith, now's the time to get out your costume, and happy Purim. And with that, I'll see you all in 2 weeks. Thank you very much.
Councilwoman Spiegel.
Thank you. For those of you who think that I'm going to let certain things die, you're wrong, because when the manager and the Parks and Rec director and I and Esmond Scott, and we were walking along Snake Creek Canal about 8 days before the Heart Walk to make certain that it was perfect, and the guys did such a great job of surprising me and all the rest of us with the improvements that they did in those last 8 days. It is so wonderful that I want you to know I've been talking to the manager about moonlight walks along the Snake Creek Canal. And so I'm thinking, well, for those of you who are listening, and if you haven't gone out and walked Snake Creek Canal within the last 13 months, it doesn't look anything like what it used to look like. It is beautiful. One of our council members has a home on the waterfront, and it is gorgeous. And pretty soon it's going to be light enough, and so we're thinking that maybe council members and our significant others, spouses, and whoever wants to join us, maybe once a month, we'll go out, we'll take a walk, a moonlight walk along Snake Creek Canal. So if my council's interested in it, if my manager can find some money, maybe we'll then go back to the library and have like cold drinks, whatever, because Snake Creek Canal is one of our hidden gems. But that's my next idea, folks, on the council. March 14th, 2015, at the library is the International Women's Day Tea. The tickets are $15. They were going fast. Last year, this event sold out, but it's Saturday, March 14th. You can call Parks and Rec, 305-948-2957. I'm sorry, I don't know the library's direct number to get it, but you can find that online. Also, since March is Women's History Month, for those of you mothers who are listening, the library is sponsoring another writing competition, and courtesy of some members of the COSW, there is actually a prize for the winning essay or essays. So contact the library, contact Parks and Rec, get your children involved. There's going to be a COSW meeting this coming Monday, March 9th at 7 o'clock here at City Hall. We're always looking for a few good members. And if you haven't gotten tired of hearing about it, the Heart Walk started with COSW. So we do some good things. Call our city clerk, 305-787-6001 to get the application, or just come Monday night at 7 o'clock and meet with us. Tomorrow's recycling. Get your bins out tonight. And with that, once again, I thank staff, I thank my city council, and I thank all of you who came out and got the squishiest sneakers you've ever had in your life, but had fun walking with us. And we'll see you next year for the Heart Health Walk. Thank you once again to all of our donors. We appreciate you, and we're so proud that you're part of our city.
Mayor Lahale.
All righty. Well, first of all, okay, I got to answer some comments about the Heart Health Walk. First of all, thank you, COSW. Thank you guys for putting together the Heart Health Walk. It was fantastic. For me, it was very, very special to look out once again at the crowd and see a beautiful representation of our city. You know, this mosaic of people, young, old, every different. You know, it's just fantastic to see that and see the community together partaking of something. It's fantastic, a great event, and I just want to make sure that everyone knows that Heart Health Walk 2016 is. No. Okay. Actually, let me tell you something. Wait a second. I was accused of not holding the rain back long enough. What people don't understand is that I had already arranged the rain. I held it back for 45 minutes, so you just had to finish the walk in a 45-minute pace, and you were okay.
I'm going to be 70.
You got rained on.
Not to mention 70 pounds overweight, but I made it.
Listen, I got rained on. I tried to keep up with Lino, and you know, then it became hopeless. But fortunately, like, you know, since it's a relay race and that kind of thing, the chief was able to pick him up and then, you know, carry the baton for me to the finish line with him. So Heart Health Walk was great. To everyone from our Jewish community, Happy Purim tomorrow. I've got to say, Parks Plan Survey, okay? We have a lot of different things that we're working on, and one of the things in the strategic plan is a parks master plan. And so I guess now that once this zoning overlay gets finished, now staff, you don't get to rest, you get to jump right into that one, and let's land that plane. However, folks, if you're listening, we need input from the community. We had meetings. We have a survey that's been handed out. We have a survey that is posted online. It is www.nmbsurvey.org. nmbsurvey.org. Please, if you're listening, take a few minutes, go to the website, and give us your input, because the input from the residents about what we need for our recreational facilities, this is going to play a large part in what comes out in that plan and what gets done with our parks. So please participate in that. A quick thank you, shout out to former Mayor Mishkan and his group over there for the incredible volunteer work they do with the Special Olympics. There must have been close to 3,000 volunteers and athletes out there, and it was it really was heartwarming to see so many volunteers working with people and giving a lot of these kids and adults an opportunity to be champions in their own right. So that was truly special. Daddy Joseph, I understand that you will be installed as the president of the Haitian American Lawyers Association.
Wow.
Not this Saturday, the next Saturday, yes? Congratulations. Very, very well deserved. You are awesome. So congratulations.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
If you're interested in purchasing tickets for our gala, please visit our website at www.HaitianLawyersAssociation.com. You're welcome. It's going to be March 14th at the JW Marriott in Brickell. Thank you.
Very nice. Congratulations. And,
the manager reserve a table, no?
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
be there. We'll be there.
One quick question. On the midnight walk, you said we could go, moonlight walk, we could go back to the library and for drinks. What kind of drinks did you have in mind? Just kidding, folks.
How big's the budget?
That's up to council discussion.
Okay, folks, thank you very much. Our next meeting is March 17th, 7:30 p.m. Please watch. I hear a motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Good night. I did all the talking tonight.